This is the reason why you should buy. And we're not asking the most important question, the reason why it was important for them, in their heart of hearts. Like, that's a sale. Then we're going to see results, the mindset, going into every opportunity, saying to yourself, I would love to have the business, but I don't need the business. When they talk about building their organization just through referral, that means they're missing it. We're selling the experience. We're selling the reason why it's important to your prospect. The internet almost shut down because they're like, are you blind? Do you not know what's going on out there? Do you not see what's happening?
You just did 250,000 cold calls. Congratulations.
Larry Levine, welcome to the Pipe Podcast.
What is going on? I've been looking forward to this. I was totally getting into your intro, and then I heard you drop Heart of Hearts, and I go, "You're my kind of guy."
I love it. I've got Larry Levine on today for the Pipe Podcast. Of course, we're talking about sales process, sales initiatives, sales prospecting and experiences. Thanks, Larry, for being on today. Hey, let's jump into it. For those that need to get to know you better, how about just giving us some highlights of Larry? What part of the world have you been running, Larry?
Sometimes I feel like it's all over the place, but I spent, this journey has just been one heck of a roller coaster, Crispin. Spent almost 30 years selling copiers, all in Los Angeles. Dog eat dog, highly competitive, highly commoditized sales channel. And I've always said that we all have these aha moments. Mm-hmm. Those aha moments could be the highest of highs or the lowest of lows. I've had many high aha moments. I've had a couple low aha moments. And it was at 50 years old, I had a low aha moment, but it was a transformational moment because it was at 50 years old that I was asked to leave, so to speak. And that was my swan song out of the copier channel.
Right.
And I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, I look back on it now, it was a difficult period, but if things didn't happen 8 years ago, selling from the heart doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's made me who I am over this last 8 years, but I've enjoyed a great career in sales. I love everything about sales, but now I'm on a mission to bring authenticity, integrity, and trust back into the sales profession because it's sorely needed.
Yeah, be careful there. Authenticity, trust. I mean, how do we do that, Larry? How does that happen? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, wow, let's just start with authenticity.
Sure.
And I'm going to give you, when I say authenticity, this isn't a collegiate level definition. I have no PhD. I'm going to throw my hand up, Crispin, and say, hey, listen, I don't have a PhD in psychology. Right. I don't have a PhD in human behavior. I don't have a lot of these fancy acronyms behind my name, but I have a PhD from getting the crap kicked out of me for many, many decades selling.
That's right.
And when I bring the term authenticity to the forefront, by the way, I think it's an overused buzzword now. Unfortunately, everybody says, hey, I'm being my authentic self. I'm not here to question it. But in order to bring your authentic self to the forefront, you got to go on a journey. And I'll simply just say, to me, authenticity is about congruency. Does the walk match the talk? And when I decided back, 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now, to write Selling from the Heart, the one thing that I stayed true to myself on, and I stayed true through the whole process, is I was going to share with people how to uncover their authentic self because I've been on the journey. I've opened the cupboard and really to uncover who I am. And to me, in order to really unpack authenticity, you got to be willing to go places that a lot of people don't go. And that's why I say the inner journey to your heart's the hardest thing you will do, but you will truly uncover what makes you tick. And I hear this a lot of times, and I'm going to set this up by saying, I'm not here to cast dark shadows, be disrespectful, or question anyone's thoughts, because we're all entitled to our own thoughts. But when somebody says, "Hey, I'm just being my authentic self," the first thing that always just floats through my head, because that's just who I am, is have you gone on that journey to really uncover who you are?
Mm, mm. That is so good. And
And it's a tough journey.
yeah,
But I will tell you this, you will come out so much stronger. You're going to learn things about yourself you haven't learned before. But I write about it in Selling from the Heart. To me, authenticity is a lifestyle. It's not a light switch.
hmm,
You just don't wake up. So right here it is. It's January 23rd right now. We're having this wonderful conversation. One just doesn't roll out of bed, Crispin, and say, "Hey, I think I'm going to try authenticity today. And if it works, oh yeah, I'm going to run with it. And if it doesn't, I'm tossing it out the window." We're all
yeah,
authentic human beings. It's how we choose to carry ourselves. It's how we
mm,
choose to represent ourselves. And quite simply, does your walk match your talk?
yeah. It's so good. So when you talk about that journey, boy, that takes a lot. You said you don't have your PhD in psychology or psychiatry, but boy, it's got to take a lot of self-reflection, Larry.
It does, and that's why I open up the first couple chapters in Selling from the Heart about self-reflection, self-care, self-acknowledgement.
Mhm.
If I look back, I'm 58 years old. If I look back at my 20s, my 30s, my 40s combined, smash all those together, I learned more in my 50s than my 20s, 30s, and 40s combined
Amazing.
because, um, I'm just a big believer with age comes wisdom.
Hmm.
And I just learned to go places. I was forced to go to places that I haven't been before because
Hmm.
if, in writing this book, Selling from the Heart, How Your Authentic Self Sells You, if I didn't go down this road, then where's the credibility? And
Right.
and I say this for a really sincere reason is I've been willing to really unpack who I am.
Hmm.
That just means spiritually, emotionally, financially, relationally,
Mm.
how I carry myself in the marketplace. I've sought out coaches, I've sought out life coaches, I've sought out friends. I've thrown that mirror right in front of me many a times, and I'm work harder on myself than anybody else will work on me.
Right. Right. Wow.
And it's afforded me now this wonderful movement we're creating at Selling from the Heart. It's authenticity is such a great, great thing if you're willing to do the work. People are craving it. People are starving for it.
Hmm.
Yet very few are willing to go to the places to really unpack who they are because it's a journey. And I remember this goes back, gosh, I'm going to say this is probably a year and a half or two ago. I get emails coming in from people that I look up to, influencers, people who've written books, who have their own podcasts and things like that. And
Sure.
I remember a message coming in from Darren Hardy. And
Mm.
a lot of the viewers and listeners probably know who Darren Hardy is. And I'm just paraphrasing this quote, but I think it just puts an exclamation point on our conversation. Darren went on to say this, and I'm shortening it. He went on to say he believes it's easier to be inauthentic than it is to be authentic.
Mm.
It's easier to fit in than it is to stand out.
Yeah.
Let's think about that for a moment.
Jeez. Amazing. That's amazing. And so, you know, when you look at what's happened and the transformation that you've had to personally go through, to share that with others that are, that are going to either read or buy or engage in some way with Selling from the Heart, and really delve into that. Take me back to one of the situations that you handled it in this way, and if you were going to be your authentic self, it would be different. That situation would have been different. Is there something that just comes to mind?
When you say, Crispin, when you say that situation, let's just peel that back, just
Yeah,
so I
sure.
can I can answer it correctly. When you say that situation, where are you going with this?
So, one, maybe a sales event, maybe a time that you're with a prospective client, maybe a time that you were with someone, just giving them advice. If you would have had these tools then, talking about you learned more in the last 50 years than, or in your 50s than you had, like, with everything else combined, what would you have done differently?
I think what would I have done? Great question. What would I have done differently is I would have sought out life coaches and business coaches a whole lot earlier in my career.
Yeah.
than later in my career. And when I was in my 20s and my 30s, I always said I was my best and worst sales manager. I held myself to higher degrees of accountability than anybody else. I was harder on myself than anybody else. It's how I was raised.
Mm.
And I was raised in environments that were dysfunctional sales teams. I'm going to peel this. I'm going to just bring this all back to your original question.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I was raised on dysfunctional sales teams, dysfunctional managers. And I just said, hey, listen, right? I'm responsible for my outcomes, not my company, not my manager, me. I'm responsible for my outcomes. And I want people to really key in on this, because a lot of times we'll point fingers and we'll come up with all kinds of excuses why we couldn't do things or achieve things, when in all actuality, it's up to us. So I learned a long time ago that I'm the CEO of my own company. I'm out there in the marketplace. I'm the CEO of my own company. Yeah, the place that I work with has afforded me, right, the office space and the things like that, and their brand and their wares to market.
Yeah.
But I'm running my own business. So if I'm running my own business, I have to carry myself in a certain way. I have to act in a certain way. I have to bring on new clients in a certain way. I have to grow my clients in a certain way. And I share all this for one simple reason. I'm going to give a special shout out to a near and dear friend of mine, Todd Capone. And Todd Capone wrote The Transparency Sale. Now he has a book, The Transparent Leader. And what's really interesting is he's turned me on to sales history. And if we go back in time, there's a guy by the name of Arthur Dunn. And in 1919, Arthur Dunn went on to say this: if the truth won't sell it, then don't sell it. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the environment that I came out of, I've seen so many manipulative sales tactics along the way.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, and I'm a big believer that your reputation arrives before you do. Special shout out to my dear friend, Mark Hunter, with that. But I knew a long time ago that perception's reality. Mm-hmm. How people perceive you is their reality. So in my interactions, if the truth won't sell it, then don't sell it. That's how I carried myself. I would much rather walk away from a difficult situation, walk away from a sale, than to push a sale over the goal line. Right. Now, some people may be going, Larry, man, wow. And I said, yeah, right. It's an oh, wow moment, but pipeline never lies. The reason why I was able to carry myself this way and interact the way I did is I always made sure a couple things happen. My relationship funnel was full and my sales funnel was full. I'll repeat that. I just held myself to these standards. I had to have a full relationship funnel and I had to have a full sales funnel. So when I was in a situation where I had to disengage because in my heart of hearts, I knew it was the wrong client to bring on, I was okay to say, you know what? I'm not the right fit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing.
And quite often, how many salespeople can just honestly look somebody dead in the eye and say, you know what, Crispin, it's been a real treat in getting to know you. I've enjoyed getting to know you. However, you know what? This may not be the right fit. And here's why.
Yep. That is, I'm telling you, that's got to be one of the biggest lessons that I've had to learn with Sales Arbiter. And you hit it right on the head, Larry. It's like, wow. Because if they're in full transparency, you know, I've been in some selling situations where, and getting, you know, going through a whole discovery with a prospect and trying to understand, you know, how we can help. And at the end of the day, I find out that this is their last ditch effort. They want to spend X amount of dollars with us and with my company and with my team to save their organization. And I've had to say, that puts way too much pressure on me and on you, you know?
Yeah.
I've had to walk away from those opportunities with literally tears in my eyes because I know where they're at. Like, I know how much help they need. Maybe if we could have gotten to them quicker, I don't know, but it's just, if you're looking for me to save your business, you're looking in the wrong place, you know? That's a tough lesson to learn, you know, when they're literally ready, and they're in so much pain that they're ready to write the check. And couldn't do that to them. I couldn't do
Yeah.
that to them, even to myself.
Yeah, this is what's interesting, and I will throw my hand up and say I've been guilty of it. I have been guilty in my career of bringing on clients that I know I probably shouldn't have. We all have.
Yeah,
If we're being truthful with ourselves, we all have.
that's right.
But what was really interesting, and I just learned this over time, is I sat in my office one day. This goes back years and years and years ago, and I whiteboarded out my clients. Right, I had A clients, B clients, and C clients. You can call them tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, however you want to choose to identify them. I looked at my tier 1, my A clients, and I just listed them all out. And then I listed what the commonalities that we all had. And what was really interesting is we shared common interest, we shared common goals, we shared common values.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the light went off. And I said, what would happen if I just doubled down on finding more people just like them?
Mm.
And quite frankly, that's how we've grown our business inside Selling from the Heart. And I remember early on, and I'm talking early on the onset of starting this business, I took on some clients I know in my heart I probably shouldn't have,
Right.
but I needed the revenue. And it was and I still remember this was plain as day. This goes back, gosh, probably 5-6 years ago. And I said to myself, this is I can't do this anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went out and I delivered a day's workshop. And at the very end of the day, it just something clicked. And I said, you know what? I could tell this is just not going to sit right. I pulled the VP of sales and the president into their offices. And I said, you know what? It's been a pleasure getting to know you, but this just isn't the right fit. And here are the reasons why this is not the right fit.
Mm.
But it's about having confidence and believability in yourself and your messaging. And I just knew this would be an uphill battle. Now, how many salespeople and sales leaders or sales managers are willing to do that?
Mm. Yeah. And especially when the environment gets tougher, when, when the economy gets, I love making up my own words, worser, right?
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, that just, it becomes harder and harder to literally sell from the heart. And so Larry, let's shift gears for a second. So, someone reads your book from, cover to cover, and they get to that last page. And what are the 2 or 3 things that you're hoping that they really take away from your book? Like what are those 2 or 3 things that you're hoping that, that should have been an eye opener for them to be able to say, this is going to change the way I do, I do business. This may change the way I live my life.
Great stuff. Is a couple things. I'll use the mirror moment just for a quick second.
Mm-hmm.
Is I want people, and I knew when I was writing my book, I held myself to this. I wanted to write a book that packed a punch.
Yeah.
That got somebody to think. I'm all about thinking. So, the first thing that I wish that would happen, and I believe that will happen at the end of reading Selling from the Heart, is you throw a big mirror up in front of your face. And I'm a big believer that the mirror never lies. Only the person that looks into the mirror lies.
Hmm.
And what I'd like everyone to think about is at the end of reading Selling from the Heart, is there 3 things that I can work on to become better? What can I do to become better? How can I carry myself? How can I interact with my clients better? What non-negotiables will I set for myself? And be willing to hold myself to a high degree of standards. Now, some people may just say, hey, in reading Selling from the Heart, this is probably going to be pixie sticks and rose petals. And it's not, right?
Right. It's not as sure as it sounded like that.
I mean, I will tell you this, but I'm a big believer that I'm all about, iron fist, velvet glove. I'm all about being professionally direct, but with a velvet glove. So at the end, I'm going to ask people to put a mirror in front of their face. The second thing I hope that they get from reading Selling from the Heart is they walk away with a clear definition of what it means to be an empty suit. And this isn't meant to cast, again, dark shadows or poke holes in the sales profession that I love. But I came up with the last chapter of my book that I just leave people things to think about. is if you're not engaging, if you're not educating, and if you're not exciting your clients into conversations and helping them to do better business, somebody else will. They're going to view you as being empty.
Hmm.
So two things that I really impart upon people as they read Selling from the Heart. As you're reading each chapter, read it with a mirror.
Hmm.
And at the end of each chapter, you got to start asking yourself some really tough questions, because there's a self-reflection journal that goes along with the book that takes each chapter even deeper.
Hmm.
But then at the end's probably my favorite chapter on how not to be an empty suit. And it's just to get people to think.
Right.
And again, if you're not educating, if you're not engaging, if you're not exciting people into conversations, and quite frankly, I use the term often at Selling from the Heart, if you just don't give a rip, which we can insert all the other words that y'all want to use, but
Right.
we'll keep this G, is if you just don't give a rip, somebody else will.
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to take away from reading Selling from the Heart, that give yourself the grace to do the things that you know in your heart is right, but it goes against the grain of so many in sales because we've lost that. I always said, in sales, there's so much bravado, braggadocious, bro behavior in sales. Right. Your clients and your future clients, they smell it. They're keenly aware of all these manipulative sales tactics that have been just thrown out there year over year.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you this, at the end of the book, I want you all to think about, right? We all know there's 5 senses. We've all been educated in school on the 5 senses. Well, there's a 6th sense. I can't scientifically prove it, but there's a 6th sense. And that 6th sense is bullcrap. And people are keenly aware of bullcrap.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So when you get done reading the book, I want you to think about all the bullcrap that's out there. Mm-hmm. And then ask yourself, will I hold myself to higher degrees of standards than anybody else? Will I bring my true, authentic self to the forefront? Will I build deep, meaningful relationships with my clients? Will I make it non-negotiable to prospect? Will I make it non-negotiable to work harder on myself than anybody else does? Will I treat my business as I'm the CEO of my business? Mm-hmm. That's what I hope people get as they read and as they finish reading Selling from the Heart.
Oh my gosh, Larry, golden nuggets. I'm telling you, those are all golden. That's great. So help me with this, Larry. What do you think when you're talking with other and just engaging with other companies out there? What are the 3 things that they need to really focus on, as it pertains to their, the organization, if they want to grow, if they want to grow their business this year? What are a few things that they really need to focus on?
And I'm glad you said 3, because I believe that we can only remember things in 3s.
I do too. That's why I only do 3.
It's all good, right? But so here, these are my 3 things. And I'm a basic guy. I will double down on the basics. I always have doubled down on the basics, because if you can't do the basic things right, you can't do the hard things right. And if you can't do the little things right, you can never do bigger things right. So these will be 3 things. I'm going to throw these out. There's no particular order, but I believe if sales leaders, sales managers, salespeople this year in 2023, if they do these 3 things, I firmly believe you can monumentally grow your business. You ready for the first one?
Yeah.
First one is create inseparable bonds with your clients. So what do I mean by that? You have to build Fort Knox around your client base. And you have to go high, wide, and deep in building this fortress around your client base. And I will tell you this, that, and it doesn't matter sales channel, doesn't matter where in the world this occurs. The one thing I do know, sales people out there have very shallow relationships and very shallow connections with their clients. Now, some of you are going to go, Larry, man, I just can't buy into what you're cooking. But I do know this, because I've seen it. I will ask salespeople, share with me your top client. Think of your top client right now, because this really drives into point number 1. Describe that top client. What's that top client look like? If that top client went somewhere else, how would you feel? Mm-hmm. And, I asked them to step into that. Now, here's the thing here's the next question. How many people in that account do you know? And how many people know you?
Mm.
How many people in executive decision-making capabilities, how many in influential capabilities, how many key users, how many people in your best account do you know?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what really concerns me is how low it is.
Mm.
How few people, salespeople, are truly connected to. They truly understand their initiatives, their goals, their dreams, their aspirations, where they see their business. Yet it's their best account.
Oh my
Help me
gosh.
understand that. I just don't, you're right. I just don't get it. So
Mhm.
here's one. If you want to grow your business, snuggle up to your customers. Find out, right? High, wide, and deep. Executive decision-making capabilities, mid-level managers, lower-level managers, key users, secretaries, admin people. There is a plethora of information. I just came back from doing a workshop on this last week at a sales kickoff.
Mhm.
And we did the same exact exercise. I sat with a room full of salespeople. I said, walk me through your accounts right now. How many people, just by title, how many people would you come in contact with? Just start rattling them off. And I just, on a flip chart, just started writing
Oh
them down.
my
We got to
gosh.
14, 15, 16 people. And I said, okay, y'all get where I'm going with this? Yet
Wow.
how many of you are connected to these people? Truly connected to these people?
Wow.
So that would be one. Here's the second one is then I would look inside your client base to drive new business. I'm all about growing business, but not at the sake of losing your clients. I believe
Mhm.
that you can grow new business right through your account base.
Mhm.
It
Yep.
goes back to point number one, build a fortress. How many people do you know? Find new connections in your current accounts. Start new conversations, build new relationships. Go to departments that you haven't been to before. I do know this, the term cross-sell, you can cross-sell your wares through your client base. You can monumentally grow your business right through your client base.
Yep. Yep.
And my favorite term I love using with sales leaders and salespeople and sales managers is, are you at full potential? Are you at full potential with your top clients? In other words, everything that you possibly have to sell,
Right.
where's that sit right now inside your top clients? And
Mm.
usually there's silence for a little bit until they just finally say, I get where you're going with this. And then
Yep.
point number 3 would be just leverage social tools. And what I mean by this is you have your current clients. So a sales team's going to understand their current clients, right?
Mhm.
From my top tiered clients all the way down to, right, those tier 3 clients. Then
Right.
what I'd like for them to do as point 3 is look at attack their targeted account list in segments. And what I mean by segments is start with like your top 5 targeted accounts. And then when I say leverage social tools, really simple, very, very simple, yet so difficult to consistently do, is take your top 5 targets, follow them on social, go to their
Mm.
website, find out what social tools that company communicates on, whether that be Facebook, whether that be Instagram, whether that be LinkedIn, and start listening to what they're saying and simply insert your voice into their
Mm.
conversations.
Mm.
And it's just, I'm a massive believer listening's the new prospecting.
Right.
Salespeople struggle to listen to their own clients, let alone listen to their targeted accounts. And when I say socially listen, I'm talking about listen with your eyes, listen with your ears. What are your targeted accounts communicating on? We live in this digitally driven, hyper connected, socially empowered world. Yet we as salespeople struggle to even do the smallest of things, and that's listen.
Mm.
You will absolutely be amazed what your targeted accounts are speaking about, posting about, and engaging about on social. It's the
Yep.
things that are important to them and top of mind to them right now.
Mm.
Every single one of your targeted accounts, vast majority of them on some kind of social platform and people inside of them. Just simply build a fortress around your current clients,
Mhm.
learn more about your current clients, drive and engage new business inside your client base, connect high, wide, and deep, and listen. listen to what your targeted accounts are communicating on. If you can just do those 3 things, you're light years ahead of where most salespeople are at, and watch what starts to happen.
Right. I mean, it just reminds me so much of and one of my very, close mentors, kind of gave me this phraseology, so I can't take credit for it, but, he said, when you're engaging with a prospect and you're talking with a potential, prospect, he's like, don't feel so compelled to have to tell your own story. Like, listen with the intent of listening. Do not listen with the intent to reply.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And if you really like that is just one thing that we, and I call it the junior sales rep. The junior sales rep is out there talking about their value proposition and talking about, what we can do for you, Larry. And let me tell you all about the company and everything that we can do. Right. And that's just not it. And you said it, best. You said, they can smell it. They can smell the bull crap. I mean, they can smell it. And if you're not really listening with the intent of listening, and you're just listening with the intent to reply, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have to have patience in order to listen. And I'm going to throw this word out there, and again, people are just going to freak out when they hear it, but that's okay. They'll get over it. I'm a big believer that salespeople are conversationally incompetent. A vast majority of salespeople are conversationally incompetent. Mm-hmm. We don't practice it. We don't plan for it. We don't prepare for it.
Right.
We are so driven by sales-centric conversations.
Yep. That's
but
right.
We struggle in business conversations. We struggle in human. Isn't it interesting, Crispin? We're all humans, but we've dehumanized interacting with people.
No,
because
I agree
because we make it about our own agenda, not theirs. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, nothing happens in sales unless you can open a conversation with somebody. Mm-hmm. How competent are you in opening conversation? And that conversation may not be about your company, may not be about your products. It may not be about yourself and all your sales accolades. It might be something about their industry. It might be something about something they posted. It might be something about something you read in an industry-related art magazine that pertains to their industry. Mm-hmm. We have just forgotten the art behind conversation with people.
Yeah.
We just want to get down to how fast can I sell something to somebody and move on to the next sale. Mm-hmm. We have this short-term vision because we look at things, right? And oh boy, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Is we look at things in short windows, right? What am I going to sell this month? I totally get it. I totally understand it. Mm-hmm. But short-sighted viewpoints on sales stunts long-term sales sustainability. Mm. When we look at things in short 30-day windows and quarter cycles, there's so much pressure on sales, and now we know why the state of mental health in sales is where it's at. There's so much pressure to perform, but yet, and I write about it in Selling from the Heart, many in sales, and for that matter in sales management, are consistently inconsistent. The reason why there's so much pressure on 30-day numbers is we're consistently inconsistent with prospecting. We're consistently inconsistent with how we take care of our clients. We're consistently inconsistent in how we build relationships. You start to get where I'm going with this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
when we bring no consistency, no discipline to the forefront, we're chasing the chase.
Right.
And it's just a vicious roller coaster. I'd just be asking everybody out there, what will you radically, consistently hold yourself accountable to do day in and day out? Oof. Without any excuses?
Wow. I mean, that is the hold yourself accountable, consistently hold yourself accountable. And what's that look like? What's that plan? What's that plan?
And it's why I write in Selling from the Heart, and it's why I throw it out there, is there's a massive difference between sales professionals and sales reps. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sales professionals do the things that sales reps consistently find excuses for.
Mm.
And that's a tough pill to swallow, people. And that's why, selling from the heart, it's soft stuff.
Mhm.
However, it's a cold dose of reality for a lot of people. Is if you struggle to connect to yourself, if you struggle to connect at your heart, I'm going to tell you, you're going to struggle to do a lot of things out there the wrong
Yeah.
way. And I'm saying this because I do know this is we can all improve, Crispin. I know that.
Mhm.
I strive to constantly find out what can I do to improve.
That's
What
right.
areas of my life, what areas of my business, what areas of my spirituality, what areas of my finance, what areas in
Mm.
my relationships, where can I improve upon? And I hold myself freaking accountable to do it. Now, maybe
Mm.
that's how I'm wired and we're all wired differently, but
Mhm.
I believe we can all learn this. I mean, people were talking about it 100 years ago. If you go back in time, the greats of the greats were talking about it. I'm talking Andrew Carnegie. I'm talking the Fords, the Rockefellers,
That's right.
Edison, right? They were
Yeah.
all doing this.
Yeah.
Why can't salespeople do it?
Mm. Yeah, well, it's hard. It's hard to do, Larry. I mean, that's the thing. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? I mean,
Right.
that's
Well, that's right. That's why everyone chases, the shortcuts. I mean,
yeah,
salespeople love chasing shiny objects as
that's
opposed to
right.
doing the work. Just
Yeah,
give me,
that's
just
what.
give me the, just give me the quick tip, the tactic, and the trick to get me from 0 to 100 miles an hour as fast as possible with minimal amount of work.
Hmm. Yeah, and that that never works. And
No,
you and I know it. Yeah,
no, that's just look at the state of where things are at right now. No one wants to formally come out and say the R word, right? The R that starts with an R and ends with an N, and we can fill in the blank with all the other words. Nobody's formally coming out and saying that.
that's right.
But I do know this: the sales profession is called a profession for a reason.
Mm.
Professional athletes are called professional athletes for a reason. They don't make $30 million or $40 million a year and call them professional amateurs,
Mm-mm.
right? They're professional athletes,
Yep.
sales professionals. The profession of sales is a noble, noble profession. If we don't sell things, money doesn't move through the economy at the rate that it needs to move through.
That's right.
Simple as that. Treat it as a profession.
Yeah.
Hold yourself to a high degree of standards. Carry yourself with I write about selling from the heart. When you bring your authentic self to the forefront, you have no competition. Are you willing to do the work?
That's it. That's it. The work ethic that it takes to get there. Larry, this has been great. So tell me, just before we get to the sales arbiter 7, because that's why everybody comes on this show. And everybody
Hey,
listens to the
dude, I
show
thought
because
I thought they were coming on to hear me, but now
no,
I
they
know
just
they
want
just
to
want to
know
hear the
they want to
7.
know all these little
Holy
tidbits
crap.
about you that
Oh,
that nobody else ever asks, But before we get to that, how do you
yeah.
do it all, Larry? I mean, sales, training, coaching, mentoring, author. I mean, you flying out to go, do these public, speaking engagements. I mean, how do you manage it all? How do you do it all?
I always this is cliche, but I'm gonna peel this back. We all have the same amount of time.
Right.
It's how we choose to use that time. And I just block and tackle time very, very well. I wake up at a certain time every morning. I do certain things in the morning, and I hold myself 7 days a week to do this. I can accomplish more in 3 hours than most people accomplish in a day.
Mhm.
And I block and tackle things in 30-minute chunks. How much can I do in 30 minutes? And I'll self-reflect for 30 minutes. And then I'll read for 30 minutes. How much can I read in 30 minutes? And from what I read in 30 minutes, can I just grab little nuggets from that and implement it?
Hmm.
Then I'll spend 5 minutes in email. And then I'll spend 20 minutes journaling. Then I'll spend 20 minutes planning, and I do things in chunks of time.
Hmm.
And when that time's up, the time's up. I prospect at certain times, 45-minute prospecting chunks. And I've just held myself accountable to do these things. Now, it may not work for everybody. It works for me. All I would say is find what works for you and
Mhm.
hold yourself accountable to it. I remember last week when I was out with this at a sales kickoff and I was running some workshops, somebody in the audience said, basically, how do you find all this time? Because I don't have enough time. And I said, right, hold on, time out. Salespeople don't have enough time because you're all out there doing stuff. And that stuff is they can't define what that stuff is, which is just wasted time.
Yep.
But you will be surprised. This is the disciplined habits part of this. And I just learned to become massively, massively disciplined with my time and how I accomplish things. And just a real quick thing is if you go back in time, I'm a big Napoleon Hill junkie.
Sure.
And I started going down this Napoleon Hill journey last year. You know, whether you love the guy or you don't love the guy, it's right, neither here nor there. I just happened to resonate to this guy's message. And I remember I read a book last year. It was called Mental Dynamite. And it was a conversation that Napoleon Hill had with Andrew Carnegie. This is going to play out on why I do the things that I do. And what was really interesting is he had this conversation with Andrew Carnegie. And early on in Mental Dynamite, which was their conversation, this goes back to 1908. So we're talking 115 years ago, they're having this conversation. And he asked Andrew Carnegie what made him so successful. And Crispin, he said two things. The key to my success was self-discipline and constructive habits. This was the wealthiest guy in the world in 1908, says the key to his success was self-discipline and constructive habits. So all the sales leaders, sales managers, and salespeople out there that are chasing tricks, tips, and tactics, y'all can continue to do that. It's just like, right, it's chasing the high. It's like chasing the next fastest roller coaster.
Yep.
All I'd ask is what would happen if you brought self-discipline and what I refer to as disciplined habits to the forefront? If you became radically consistent with doing the right things right, day in and day out, and you held yourself to non-negotiable standards, I promise you this, you would all stop complaining. And you'd start having more fun. You would be driving more sales and you'd be growing yourself.
Yep. Man, that's good. That is great. Thank you. Hey, Brittany has a quick question. Do you have any advice for connecting with prospects who think all salespeople are inauthentic?
Oh, great question, Brittany. And so it goes back to, right, perception is reality. Everybody thinks salespeople are inauthentic, right? A lot of people don't trust salespeople. They don't think they're credible. But I will tell you this, and it goes back to the phrase that I said, your reputation arrives before you do. It's how you carry yourself. It's the words you use. It's the messaging that you use. If you, I remember this, and Brittany, hopefully this answers your question. If not, and you know how to reach me, Brittany, and then we can talk about it. I remember, this goes back to my very first business coach. I hired my first business coach at 40 years old. So 18 years ago. And I asked this person, right? I go, what was the key to your success? And he shared with me the keys to his success. One of the keys to his success was this: I stopped acting like a salesperson.
Wow.
So if I can give any advice to anyone who's connecting with prospects who thinks all salespeople are inauthentic, pay attention to your words, pay attention to your messaging, pay attention to how you carry yourself, and stop acting like every other salesperson that's out there.
That's right.
Connect the way you would want to be connected to. And then I'll flip this around even one more, Brittany. And here's what I would challenge everybody to do. If you want to find out how to connect to prospects in a better way, ask your current clients who are talking to other salespeople all the time, what makes you connect with salespeople? What makes you engage with a salesperson? What has to happen? What does that salesperson have to say in order for you to go, I'm finally on to a sales professional, not a sales rep? Go ask your current clients. They will tell you. And then take exactly what your current clients tell you, and then go prospecting with it to your target audience.
That's great. That's great, Larry. All right, we're jumping into the sales arm of this right now. We're going. You ready? You ready?
I think so.
All right. So, I my friend James Lipton, I just loved him from inside the actor's studio. So this is a tribute to him that I do every show.
All right.
And so this is a play on, some of the questions that he used to ask when he would have guests. So tell me, Larry, what is your favorite word?
So good.
So good.
So good.
Okay. All right. That's great. That's great. All right. Tell me, what is your least favorite word?
It's not only my least favorite word, it's my family's least favorite word.
Oh.
And y'all are going to laugh your backside off when you hear it. It's the word moist.
I
told you.
Generational. That's generational. Huh? I said that's generational. It's your whole family.
Oh, so my favorite word's so good. Least favorite's moist, but it's also it's our family's least favorite word.
There we go. Okay. Good. Thank you. All right. What is something that could make your day?
Meeting Pastor Craig Rochelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
I've never personally met him, though I feel I have. I watch his Sunday message every week. Over the last couple of years, he's helped me turn my life around spiritually. Wow. And one day, it'd make my day if one day I had the opportunity to shake his hand and just say thank you.
Wow, that's touching. Thank you, Larry. Thank you for sharing that. So, what's something that could ruin your day?
It's something I work on a lot, and that's just negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Negative self-talk. I have to be cognizant of it because it will ruin my day really fast. And I think it's something that, if we're all being honest with ourselves, we all carry with us.
Sure. And so you're battling that every day. What's a noise that what noise or sound do you love?
First thing in the morning, I love hearing my coffee pot percolate.
First thing in the morning. It's just hearing it percolate and smelling coffee. First thing in the morning at 3:30 in the morning. That's amazing. That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What sound or noise do you hate?
The sound of a dentist drill.
Yeah. That's a popular one, I'm sure. That's a popular one. All right. Last one, Larry. Last one. So what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I'm a baseball junkie. So it would have to be playing baseball.
That's it.
It's right. I'm 58. It's not going to happen, but right. I'm just answering the question that, if I could rewind things or just go poof, if I could be a baseball player for one day, I'd freaking love it.
I love it. Larry, it has been great having you on today. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on with the podcast, and just so much great information. And I always close out by saying, listen, keep selling and have fun doing it. Get Larry's book, look him up on his website. Make sure that you're selling from the heart. Thanks a lot, Larry. Appreciate it.
That was my pleasure. Look forward to it next time.
All righty. Bye now.
Bye.
This is the reason why you should buy. And we're not asking the most important question, the reason why it was important for them, in their heart of hearts. Like, that's a sale. Then we're going to see results, the mindset. Going into every opportunity, saying to yourself, I would love to have the business, but I don't need the business. When they talk about building their organization just through referral, that means they're missing it. We're selling the experience. We're selling the reason why it's important to your prospect. The internet almost shut down because they're like, are you blind? Do you not know what's going on out there? Do you not see what's happening?
You just hit 250,000 cold calls. Congratulations.